Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Thursday, March the 10th, 2016, and I have the very distinct honor and great pleasure of welcoming to the show for the first time Mr. Michael Noonan, and he is the proprietor of EdgeTraderPlus.com. Michael, how you doing today?
Good morning, Rory. Not for the first time.
Well, you and I, this is the first time on the Daily Coin.
Oh, okay.
We
All
spoke on, now I have interviewed you with Sean over at SGT Report.
My apology.
No, that's fine. It's all good. But I wanted to bring you on because all of the recent action in the metals with the precious metals, and you have a very unique perspective of the markets, if you can call them that, and I wanted to get your thoughts and dig into your analysis of what's going on. And as I said, you have a different approach to tracking the precious metals markets, and you really aren't concerned with fundamentals, and you pay very close attention to the charts. And why do fundamentals not play a role in your opinion?
Well, I don't pay close attention to. I don't know anything about the fundamentals, to be honest. I'm not that smart. Everything that I do is what I do in the market, Rory, is focused on price and volume behavior and analysis of the combination of the two. And the premise behind not needing fundamental information, fundamentals are never market timing events ever.
Okay.
Except for some extraneous event, but generally fundamentals are never prone to timing entry and exit of the market. They ultimately prevail in the marketplace, with the precious metals being an exception, and the stock market currently because of the severe manipulation by central bankers. But generally, fundamentals will always prevail. My view of looking at the price, interaction between volume and price is everyone that makes a bet in the market, as it were, a bet being they either buy or sell. We're not talking about people who express opinions. We're talking about actual market participants who make a decision, and that decision is logged in and registered in the marketplace, and it shows up in the chart as a part of the price behavior and in the volume. So whether that comes from someone who's just knows nothing about the markets and they're taking a stab, or someone from one of the more sophisticated banks that have access to incredible resources and information, they ultimately make their decision, and that decision, I read what they're thinking, as it were, in the price volume behavior. The overwhelming people who rely on fundamentals and use that as their guide in the marketplace will show up also in price behavior and volume analysis. So that's why, for me, fundamentals don't apply, and the market behavior, the market activity in price and volume is probably the most reliable and current source of information one can have. It's there, available to everyone. Not everyone pays attention to it. A lot of people don't. Some people just view this as technical analysis. I don't. To me, technical analysis more strictly applies usually extraneous tools such as relative strength index, RSIs, or Bollinger Bands, or moving averages. These are all past tense measures that are imposed upon present tense markets with the intent of trying to read future tense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it makes sense without making sense. It makes sense in the explanation, but it doesn't make sense in the reliability of that type, for me, of the reliability of that type of analysis. The markets are too sophisticated. They've been around so long, and there has been no computer, no type of technical measure that has ever captured the markets consistently where one can make money. Yeah, I mean, they work sometimes, sometimes a few times, but they do not work consistently because they simply are an incorrect measure of the market and the current developing activity.
Okay. And I want to read this. It's the opening paragraph of your latest article titled Gold and Silver Charts Reviewed, and you published this on Saturday, March the 5th. And it says, in last week's commentary, February heralding end of downtrend, question mark, we stated the significance of February is its decided change in market behavior on the monthly and weekly charts. We are seeing even more evidence to support that premise, and all that is required is to observe the next corrective action to see where, at what level, price tests prior to resuming the start of an uptrend that began December 2015. And what I wanted to find out is, have we hit the bottom, in your opinion? Have you seen these signals that you're looking for that say December was a bottom and we should move forward from here?
Well, I tend to qualify things, not to not to be evasive or anything, but it's just that things will change. If December is in fact a bottom, we won't know until after the fact, and sometimes you cannot recognize an absolute bottom or a top until weeks or even a few months after it.
Okay.
And for me, the markets are always confirming their behavior, and so I go on the confirming action. December could very well be a bottom. If at the time up until February, I didn't think it would be. But the reason why I said is February heralding a change in the trend is because the monthly bar for February was one of the stronger bars that we've seen probably since the high of the markets back in 2011, 2012, 2010. It had a very strong volume, very strong move to the upside, and a very strong close. Those are very. That's a very reliable. Generally, that's a very reliable market indicator of strength, and it's coming from weakness. So that has to be proven, and is proven on the retest, and that's why I made that comment. The next correction will give us some very pertinent information as to how reliable the action has been since that December low. And so far, what we are seeing is an inability, surprising to me, an inability of these precious metals markets to break. Then they have not yet been retesting. Gold has some overhead resistance around 13. What it also has done in the month of February is it took out the last two swing highs in the marketplace. I'm gauging that on a weekly chart now. It took out the last two swing highs. We have not seen that kind of market behavior probably in the last couple of years. So for me, that's signaling a change in behavior, and it's changes in behavior that begins to confirm that we're seeing a change in trend. So the change in trend may simply be from down to sideways. I wouldn't call it up yet at this point because we have not seen, we're seeing a higher high come into the markets, but now we have to see a higher low that will confirm that December is in fact going to be a bottom, if it is to be a bottom.
Okay.
Do you follow?
I do, and that I love the fact that you brought up the higher lows, because that's a great gauge, in my opinion. I mean, for just about anything. I mean, if you look at
Well, you've not seen any higher lows, Rory. That's
right.
The point, and you're right. Every swing low that people were calling for markets over the last calling for a change in a trend over the last 3 years. There have been a lot of people saying the market's going up now. We've consistently had lower lows. So we have to make sure that we don't see, we need the higher low to confirm December. And until we see a higher low, we still have to consider the market as being down. That's why
Okay.
I qualify. I'm saying I'm not really hedging what I'm saying. I just need to see confirmation. Until the confirmation comes in, I can't speak authoritatively because the market is the final arbiter of everything. And I'm just a reader. I'm a messenger, as it were.
Okay. And in the messages that you receive, do you take into account the role of high frequency trading algorithms and the plunge protection team as far as when you're looking at these things? Does that play a role? And if so, what type of role does it play when you're looking at this?
It doesn't for me.
It doesn't. Okay.
No, I would know who they are, when they are. All I do, again, that's part of everything that goes on in the market is reflected in the price volume behavior, including those sources that you just mentioned.
Okay.
So I don't need to be aware of the who behind the marketplace. I only need to be concerned about how it's being how it's developing in terms of price and volume behavior. And what we've been seeing since December is a very important change in market behavior that we've not seen since the top of the markets a couple of years back.
Okay. And in that light, Michael, if you don't mind, I'd like to change gears just a little bit and talk about something actually completely different. And I know that you look at what some people would call more conspiratorial subjects, but they're really not. They're not theories. They're facts. Um,
Well, some people think that technical analysis is conspiratorial. But right, you're right.
oh,
A lot of
with
people say, they talk about reference conspiracy theory when in fact there's really conspiracy fact. And
Yep,
that's an important admission
distinction.
that you just made.
Yep,
It is more fact.
it is more fact. And with the shift in power structure that we are witnessing right now with the BRICS and the Eurasian Economic Union and various other the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. You've got these three that are both power and influence, along with finance and economics. These three new entities are seemingly getting a foothold at this point. China and Russia both have their own SWIFT system alternative. China and Russia both have their own central banks. China and Russia are the two, what I see, are the two main sources for the 21st century of governmental influence as well as finance and economics on a global scale. How do you see this shift? Will it continue in the manner in which it has been, which are just these really small, almost insignificant steps from west to east? Or are we gonna, or is the United States or someone else going to push the button and we go into a cataclysmic war?
Well, the United States won't be pushing the button. The U.S. is as much a subject to the powers that we rarely ever see or hear about. The elites, as reference, the Rothschild factor, as I would call them. I'm not sure to the extent that we'll see any changes with Russia and China. China one has to keep remembering China already has installed a digital currency for its population, which is where the United States is trying to move, where much of Europe is trying to move. So that is not free market type of activity. That is very restrictive and a government controlling type of activity. So China is also has pushed hard to become a member of the club,
Yes.
a member of the BIS, BIS being the central bank of all the central bankers. and they have pushed to become a member of the SDR basket, the special drawing rights basket, which is another form of fiat currency. So to me, the shift in power is a shift in horses, not so much the power, but the direction in which the power is leading a different horse. I don't know if I said that correctly, but the United States is pretty much done. You can stick a fork in this country. It is done. It is past tense. It is a hollowed out representation of what it used to be. And the elites have pretty much decimated the country. They're currently doing the same thing with Europe. They're creating havoc, problem. And then they always jump in with a solution, a problem reaction solution. I forgot the reaction part. And we're seeing. I think China is going to be very much the next powerhouse that the elites will be using to do the same thing, a rinse and repeat type of action like they've done with the United States over the past 150 years. People may think that's a kind of a broad stretch, but if they would view the economic history of this country, they would see that the Civil War was financed. The North was financed by the British Rothschilds. The South was financed by the French Rothschilds, competing factors. So the money changers have been behind everything that goes on in the world, and they've been manipulating. They have total control now. They're manipulating the currencies, and now they have total control of world dominance of all currencies. And I think China is just going along with the program. Russia also has been actively wanting to be a member of the International Monetary Fund. Putin speaks well of it. Putin has met several times with Kissinger. Kissinger being one of the more notable participants in the elite strategy for world dominance. So I'm not sure that things will get better. They'll get worse in this country, that's for sure.
Well, I know they're going to get a lot worse here. And if people aren't preparing to at least be able to fend for themselves and take care of their family, then God help them. That's all I can say. I mean, and I don't even know if that's going to do any good with some of the absolute totalitarian, Nazi-esque laws that have been passed, just within the past few years, and the continual change to the National Defensive Authorization Act, the National Resources Preparedness Act, which was a executive order that Obama signed, which gives the federal government absolute, total, 100% control of everything. And when I say everything, I mean transportation, food, your labor, your family, your whatever's in your home, including your home, whatever they deem as necessary. And it's pretty terrifying. I mean,
the federal government has actually had that control in place over the last several decades. Back in the 1930s, they've the 14th Amendment. People don't realize the 14th Amendment changed what is known as a citizen. A U.S. citizen right now is a fictional entity. It is a creation within the de facto federal government, and the federal government is a corporation that has taken over the de jure, when I say de jure, the legitimate constitutional United States. So we have a de facto federal government, and the first 10 amendments are real. Every amendment after is like a statute, statutory law. And it's created by the federal government. And they have been in control of all commerce, I think from the 1930s on. I can't remember the specific acts, but there were several that gave the government control.
Is that the Maritime Act?
No, the Dick Act was one of them. There was a farming act passed in 1933 that was ultimately rescinded. But there are so many acts that have given the government control over all commodities. The 1933 amendment of I think it was the 1918 Enemy Act that Roosevelt made every citizen in this country an enemy of the de facto corporate government.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes.
But I mean, what the National Resources Preparedness Act that Obama signed as an executive order spells everything out in great detail as far as
Yes, these
what.
are all more detail. Or you're right. You're right on that. But they've had total control just by virtue of the fact of the structure of the de facto government.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but it doesn't surprise me in the least.
Well,
And
you see, people. I'm not a registered voter, and the reason why I'm not a registered voter is because I'm not. I stay away from federal jurisdiction. When this country was formed, we had electors. We didn't have registered voters. The only time you register is when you're in the de facto jurisdiction of the government. So to be a registered voter means you are voting within the confines of the de facto federal government. It means nothing. Voting really means nothing. It's a rigged game. But
we're seeing that now.
It's bread and circuses. That's all it is.
Yeah.
If voting mattered, as the expression goes, they would outlaw it.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Take a look at Hillary Clinton. She's probably going to be the ultimate winner.
Yep.
Yet, no one's paying attention to the fact that they're casting everything aside that she has done wrong, especially with Benghazi, with the
Right.
all the emails, their illegal emails. Everyone else would have been.
Well, let's call it what it is. It's treason.
I was going to say, anyone else would have been hung with treason, the treasonal label on that, but she's getting away with it because the powers that run the country want her elected. Just like that's how Obama got elected. That's why Obama made 18 promises before he was elected and carried through with none of them, and made 18 decisions that have been very destructive to the country.
He has been incredibly destructive to this country.
Very, very much so. Very much so. He's worse. He's worse than Bush. I thought, who could be worse than Bush at the time?
I think what's gonna come clear at the end of this presidential election cycle, Michael, and I agree with you that Hillary is going to be the next president. I hope that I pray to God that I am 100% wrong, but if that comes to bear, that will prove beyond question to the American people that you have no say in anything.
Well, I don't think so, Rory.
I do.
I think the American people are oblivious to what goes on anyway. They still believe in the government. They think the government is out for them. They think the government is there to serve them. And there's been nothing by the people in terms of an uprising or a reaction to say, enough is enough. We haven't seen anything that indicates enough is enough yet. You get small pockets, like we're aware of these things.
Yeah.
But this is going back to the beginning of our discussion. This is why it's so critical to be owning the physical metals, gold and silver. Because that's the only thing that has no third-party risk, that the government, they're not going to go after people with gold and silver like they did in the 1930s, because there's just not enough people that own gold and silver to make it worth their while.
And speaking of which, as you and I think you would agree that we are headed in the direction of a cashless society. What does that mean to the gold and silver bugs? I mean, how is that going to benefit, or what are we going to be able to do at that point?
Well, it's a good question. What we'll be able to do, of course, it will benefit because everything else, anything of paper value, is being destroyed, and now they want to destroy cash. Not that cash is real anyway, because
Right.
money was destroyed when the Federal Reserve took over in December of 1913, December 23rd, 1913. And they destroyed the United States money and replaced it with Federal Reserve notes, which is a fiat issue. And
it's a debt instrument.
It's a debt instrument, exactly. That was going to be my next point. It's nothing but a debt instrument. And debt, by very definition, cannot be money. So people don't even, in this country, people don't even understand money. And when they can't understand money, they will never understand how the government has been deceiving them and how the government functions. We're going to probably, for the gold and silver people, it's going to be a wealth preservation a factor for the people who do own the silver and gold. There probably will be a black market. I don't know. We'll go into a bartering situation. That's probably the only way, because the powers that be and the government is not going to facilitate any transactions with gold and silver, and they'll probably do what they can to put the scarlet letter A on any gold and silver owners' chests. And make it a taboo thing. So
well, it'll be labeled as a terrorist.
Or
I mean, that's what they're doing. They're already trying to do that now.
Yeah. Well, anyone who disagrees with the government is a terrorist, unfortunately. But that's how totalitarian governments function. They rebrand and rename everything, making people guilty before they're even considered reasonably innocent
or reasonably sane. Because they ask a question. I'm just asking a question here.
Yeah, no,
no questions. And all of a sudden I'm labeled as crazy, and I should be, mistreated in whatever way that they deem as necessary.
So the cashless society is just I can't say it's the final, because there's so many things that you think were final. Way of the government to get total control over everybody. Nobody can, without cash, the only way you can spend money is out of a digital bank of some kind.
Right.
And the government controls it. If they want to keep imposing negative interest rates, they will make your holding of cash, even digital cash in a bank, expensive, so that it'll prompt people to spend it. Well, I better spend it before I lose it to the government.
Right. And that to me is the whole gist of it. I mean, that's the whole reason for it is everything that you just described. Total control.
Oh, sure.
I know everything that you do, who you do it with, how many times a day you do it. I know all of these things. And if you step out of line, well, sorry, your account just got locked. And,
yeah.
And I'm going to charge you. I'm going to start out. It's going to be at 1/10 of 1% is going to be your charge. Oh, but next month it's going to be 0.5%, and then the following month it's going to be 2%, and they just keep. It would never stop.
No, it'll never stop, and it'll be worse than that. They'll use it as a political tool.
Absolutely.
And anyone who steps out of line says, your account, we can't find it for some reason. It's disappeared.
Right.
Yeah. But we're looking on it. We're looking at it, and we'll find it within the next couple of months. Meantime, you can't afford to pay your family's living expenses or food and shelter and all that.
Right.
Plus, it also gives the IRS total leverage. And
leverage.
Yeah, the IRS is like the Federal Reserve. It's a foreign entity. It's not part of the United States government.
Well, I knew that they were nothing but the police for the Federal Reserve, and
they're the collection arm for the International Monetary Fund.
So that explains FACTA and why these other countries are accepting of FACTA and falling into line with that, because it's an IMF function.
Yes,
that makes perfect sense.
Yes, it's a strong arm. Money controls. It won't change. Money, always follow the money. Always
follow the money.
Yeah.
And one last question, Michael, and then I'll let you get back to your morning. And what are your thoughts on this Rothschilds recently coming under indictment? Does it mean anything, or is that just a dog and pony show?
Bread and circuses.
Bread and circuses. There you go. Can't get any simpler than that.
It doesn't.
Well, we've been speaking with Michael Noonan, who is the proprietor over at EdgeTraderPlus.com. And Michael, tell me a little bit about what you got going on over there.
Well, I publish once a week an article. It recently has been, for the past couple of years, has focused primarily on gold and silver because I think they're the last hope that individuals have for maintaining as much autonomy as they can within a sinking ship, at least in this country. And I write articles that pertain to what the market is doing, how it's doing, always advocating the purchase of precious metals at any price, at any time, especially at the current prices, where once, if we see a market turnaround, we will never, ever, in all likelihood, see prices that we're seeing today. I use
You don't sell precious metals, right?
no.
Okay.
I have nothing to sell. I have no advertising on my site. It's just a pure here's who I am and what I do.
There you go. I mean, and that's I like to get that out there because I don't want the commentators on YouTube going, well, this guy's just talking his book, or whatever.
No,
We're not selling anything. We're
no.
selling we're selling hope. We're
Well,
selling a solution.
just information, and people can
Information. There you go.
or disregard whatever they choose to do with it. But those who choose to remain uninformed, and the vast majority do, you can lead a horse to water. That's all.
Well, on that note, hopefully everybody's getting a big drink.
They'll need it. They'll need
You're
it.
gonna need it. Michael, we'll do this again in the not too distant future, and we'll dig a little deeper into these subjects. And I hope you have a great morning.
Absolutely. It's always a delight, Rory. You're doing great work over there at the Daily Coin.
Thank you so much.
Okay.